23rd of January 1908, Volume 8. Jesus never goes to the soul uselessly. Temporizing gives time and space to the enemies to wage battle. As M came, he told me that in these comings of our Lord, I did not deserve anything, and that I only deserved something when I practiced the virtues, and he also told me to pray for certain needs of his. Then, during the course of the day, I was concerned about what I had heard, and in order to snap out of it, I said to myself, "My adorable good, you know that I've never cared about merits, but only about loving you. It seems that they want to make me a servant in your house, as if I cared about gains. No, I don't want to be servant, but daughter. Even more you, my beloved, and I yours." But in spite of this, that thought would come back very often. Now, as I found myself in my usual state, my blessed Jesus came and told me, "My daughter, M did not tell you the truth, because when I go to a soul, I never go uselessly, but I always bring her some usefulness. Now I speak to her about virtues. Now I correct her. Now I communicate my beauty to her in such a way that all other things appear ugly to her, and many other things. And even if I did not say anything to her, it is certain that love develops more in the soul, and the more she loves me, the more I come to love her in return. And the merits of love are so great, noble, and divine, that compared to other merits, those could be called lead, and these pure gold. Besides, he himself came, and indeed he did not come like a statue. He tried to say some words and to do some good to you, though as a creature. And then I, who am the Creator, would do useless things?" At that moment I remembered the needs that M had told me, and I prayed our Lord to answer him. In the meantime I seemed to see him with a silver-coloured garment. A black veil descended from his head, covering part of his eyes, and this veil seemed to communicate itself to another person who was behind him. I could not understand anything of this, and blessed Jesus told me, "The silver-coloured garment that you see on him is his purity in operating, and the black veil is the human that he mixes with it. This human that he mixes is like a veil, which, covering the light of truth that shines in his mind, sometimes makes him act with fear or to content someone else, and not according to the truth which my grace makes shine in his mind." And I, "Lord, grant him what he told me, for it is something that regards your glory very much." And he, "For an irresolute soul, temporizing gives time and space to the enemies to wage battle, while by not giving them time and by showing oneself resolute and unshakable, the doors are closed to the enemies, and one has the good of not even exposing oneself to the brawl. So if he wants to reach his goal quickly, these are the means, and I will be with him, and he will be victorious. And then the very ones who are most opposed to him will be the most supportive, and will admire him the most, seeing that he has undone their human views." End of the reading. The 23rd of January 1924, Volume 16. Just as Jesus braided the creating fiat with his redeeming fiat, so does he want the third fiat to be braided with the creating and redeeming fiat. The humanity of Jesus is smaller than his eternal will. I was abandoning all of myself in the holy will of God, and I thought to myself, the fiat formed the whole universe, and in the fiat the divinity made display of its love toward man, exposing it in each created thing, in such a way that, impressed in each created thing, one can see that fiat which with such great mastery, power and harmony was released from the divine bosom toward the creature. The fiat formed the redemption, so much so that in each thing which the eternal Word did, the fiat is present, and surrounding them like a crown it gives them life. So the creating fiat and the redeeming fiat are braided together, and one echoes within the other, forming one single fiat, as there is no created act which my sweet Jesus did not braid with the requital of his fiat. Now, my adored Jesus has told me many times that the third fiat is needed so that the works of creation and redemption may be completed. So how will this be done? Who will form so many fiats as to braid the creating fiat and the redeeming fiat? While I was thinking of this, my lovable Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, if the Supreme Majesty released so much love toward mankind in all the things created by his omnipotent fiat, it was right that I, his son, in his same fiat, would do as many acts to requite him for his love, braiding his fiat with mine, so that another fiat, human and divine, might rise from the earth to exchange the kiss with his fiat, be braided with it, and substitute for the return of love of all creatures. Until I came upon earth, the fiat which was spread throughout all creation was alone. But as I came, it was no longer alone. Indeed, my first task was that of forming as many acts in the eternal fiat for as many as my Father had done in creation. So with my fiat, the creating fiat had its sweet and harmonious company. Now, this fiat does not want to remain in two. It wants the third fiat. It wants to be in three. And this third fiat, it is you who will do. This is why many times I have drawn you outside of yourself, and I have placed you within that very creating and redeeming fiat, so that you might do your flight. And as you would braid your fiat with ours, the creating and redeeming fiat might be braided by the third fiat, your own. The more you operate in our fiat, the sooner you will reach the way of our fiat. And just as in the fiat of creation, many prodigious and beautiful things, the whole universe, came out of us, and the fiat of redemption substituted for all the acts of creatures, taking its lost child by the hand to lead him back into the bosom of his celestial Father, so will the third fiat, once it has done its course, let its effects be seen, that my will be known and loved, and take its dominion in order to have its kingdom upon earth. Each additional act of yours, which you will braid with our fiat, will be a human kiss that you will have our fiat be given, a greater bond that you will form between the divine will and the human will, in such a way that, placed in accord, it may have no reluctance to making itself known and taking its royal dominion. Everything is in making itself known, the rest will come by itself. This is why many times I have recommended to you that you omit to write nothing of what regards my will, because knowledge is the way, and its light serves as trumpet to call those who are listening to make itself heard. And the more the trumpet sounds, and it sounds more for as many knowledges as it has to be manifested, the more people will rush up. Knowledge takes the attitude now of pulpit, now of teacher, now of compassionate father and excessive lover. In some, it has all the ways in its power in order to enter the hearts, to conquer them and to triumph in everything. And the more knowledges it contains, the more ways it has in its power. Almost confused by what Jesus was telling me, I said, "My sweet love, you know how miserable I am, and in what state I find myself. Therefore I feel it is impossible for me with my acts that I may reach the same way as that of the creating fiat and of the redeeming fiat." And Jesus, "So our fiat does not contain all the power it wants? If it did it in creation and redemption, How can it not be able to do it in you? What it takes is your will, and I will impress my fiat in yours, just as I impress my divine fiat in the will of my humanity. So we will follow the same way. My will can do anything. In my all-seeingness it will make present to you the acts of creation and redemption, and you with ease, with your acts will braid the third fiat to our fiat. Aren't you happy? And I, in seeing that my adored Jesus, as he was speaking about his will, was disappearing from me, remaining as though eclipsed within an immense light, just as when the sun makes the stars disappear, eclipsing them within its light, said, Jesus, my life, do not speak to me about your will, because then you eclipse yourself within its light and I lose you and remain alone without you. How can it be that your will makes me lose my life, my all? And Jesus added, My daughter, my humanity is smaller than my eternal will. It has its boundaries, its limits, and therefore as my endless will draws near you with its knowledges, my humanity is lost within its light, and as though eclipsed. This is why you do not see me. But I remain always in you, and I enjoy as I see the little newborn of my will eclipsed within the same light as my humanity. So we are together. But because our sight is dazzled by the blazing light of the supreme volition, we cannot see each other. End of the reading. The 23rd of January 1927, Volume 20. How the divine fiat is a powerful magnet which draws God to the creature. How the human will is more than earthquake, and how it is exposed to all thieves. As I continued to be more sick than usual, my sweet Jesus made himself seen. Not himself alone, but together with the three divine persons. They all surrounded me, and I remained in their midst, nor could I see anything but their supreme height and the immense light which surrounded them. And all three of them said to me, We have come to make a visit to our daughter who is sick. Our will, more than a powerful magnet, drew us and called us from heaven to make us come to you. Nor could we do without coming to cheer the one who is the firstborn daughter of our will, and to keep her a little company in her sufferings. The strength of our fiat is irresistible for us, and surrendering to its strength is happiness for us. Now, who can say what I felt and comprehended while being in their midst? I do not have the words to express myself. And since obedience had told me that I should have something to eat, though I could not take anything, out of obedience before Jesus came, I had taken a few spoonfuls of broth, and I felt it in my throat, unable to go down to my stomach. I told Jesus to let me obey, and Jesus, all goodness, passed his holy hand from my throat to my stomach, making it go down to my stomach so that I could digest it, in such a way that I did not bring it up as I am used to doing every day, that whatever I take I bring up. Infinite goodness of Jesus for me, who am the most little and poor creature. Then after this I remained afflicted, because I thought that they would take me with them, and since they didn't, I felt sad. And Jesus, to cheer me, placed himself with his face at my chest, and as he breathed over me, a light came out of his breath, which served not only for my soul, but also to recompose all of my body. As the breath ceased, my body would fall apart, and Jesus, to cheer me, said to me, My daughter, courage, don't you see that the mere breath and light of my will recompose also your body? So if I stop my breath, your body will fall apart, and you will quickly make your way to our celestial fatherland. And I, my love, I am useless, and I am good at nothing. Would it not be better for you to get rid of me by sending me to the celestial Jerusalem? And Jesus, all goodness, added, My daughter, everything is useful for me, even the little rocks, the rubble in order to build. The same with you. Everything that forms your body is like rubble, but when it is vivified by the vital fluid of the eternal fiat, everything becomes precious and of incalculable value, in such a way that I can build the strongest and most impregnable cities over that precious rubble. You must know that as man withdrew from the divine will by doing his own, it happened as when a strong earthquake strikes the city. The strong tremor makes chasms open in the earth, and somewhere it swallows the houses, somewhere else it tears them to pieces. The power of the tremor opens the coffers locked most securely and casts out diamonds, coins, precious things, in such a way that thieves can enter and steal whatever they want. So the poor city is reduced to a heap of rocks, ruins, rubble and wreckage. Now, if a king wants to build that city once again, he uses those very heaps of rocks, wreckage and rubble, and since he makes it all new, he builds it in modern style, giving it such sumptuousness of art and beauty that there may be no other city equal to it, and so he makes it the capital of his kingdom. My daughter, the human will was more than earthquake for man, and this earthquake is still going on, sometimes more intense, sometimes a little less so, in such a way that it casts out of him the most precious things which God placed in the depths of man. So this earthquake of his own will makes him all upset. The key of the supreme fiat which kept men in custody and completely safe no longer exists for them. Therefore, since they have no more doors nor keys, but collapsing walls, the thieves of their passions loot, and they remain exposed to all evils, and many times shattered into wreckage and rubble, which can barely be recognised as the cities once built by their Creator. Now, since I want to build once again the kingdom of my will in the midst of creatures, I want to use your wreckage and rubble, and by investing them with the vital fluid of my creative will, I will form the capital of the kingdom of the supreme fiat. This is how I use you. Aren't you happy? End of the reading. There are no more readings today. Have a blessed day.